She knew she was different. So much had changed she was barely recognizable. Her friends and family had given her mixed reactions. Some of them love what has happened to her, and some of them are so down on themselves they cannot look past their own misery and insecurities to notice how she glows, how she moves, how she speaks, how she has taken command of her own life, how so many wonderful things have shown up for her. The last couple of years have gone by in a whirlwind. Since she had that very first, not really because there were many before, only one-sided conversations with her loving voice, her world has been turned upside down. So much of the shit inside her world has been shaken out, cleaned up, and it feels so fucking good. Her mornings no longer contain an avalanche of emotion, anxiety, depression, hatred, self-loathing. They have all disappeared, or mostly. There is still a bit of work to do, but with most of it gone, she has the strength to keep going, to never let those feelings overwhelm her again. Each decade before now has been riddled with those feelings. It is going to take some time to flush them all out. So they do, on occasion, show up, just with more subtlety. She knows in time and with more of her own love, they will eventually evaporate, vanish, leaving only love and kindness in their place. Every night as she falls asleep, she remembers her day and gives her full appreciation of how amazing her day went, especially to those crappy parts of her day where things didn't quite feel so good. They are all there for her, to teach her something, to give her an important lesson that enhances her commitment to growth. And gosh, hasn't she grown these last 2 years? She has done so much with her life she never believed possible. She has allowed herself to follow her heart, her intuition. She has given herself experiences she would only confine to her dreams. Like not so long ago, her body, her mind, and her loving voice all went along to do a 10K run and finished. They finished. They did it. She was so proud of herself for doing it, for completing it, for not letting her other mind talk her out of it, giving her a million reasons why she shouldn't. Her emotions were high that day. As she took off from the start line, she choked up. She wanted to cry because she was so overcome with joy and love for herself, for being there. She couldn't remember a time when she felt truly free for anything but pure gratitude. This was her life now. So much more love than hate. She was surrendering all that didn't serve her greater intentions. Running is helping her do that. Moving her body in that way has also felt freeing. Even at her heaviest, she got the urge to run because it was ready to give her something she couldn't quite put her finger on. It was only very rarely that she gave in to the urge, and it felt amazing. Most of the time, her hate for her fatness got in the way. It stopped her. Her body always stopped her. Yet, it wasn't her body putting the brakes on. It was Saskia, her protective ego, that other voice inside of her, and you, presenting her with doubt after doubt, fear after fear, and worry after worry. With every thought of worry and doubt and fear came a wariness of what she was genuinely capable of. So she never tried. She never attempted to be anything more than what Saskia told her she could be. All of that led to her staying stuck in her misery. A sense of doom and gloom surrounding her every move. It took over her whole life. So much so she truly believed she was destined to be that way for the rest of her life. There was no seeing past it. This made it worse. Just a never-ending, meaningless existence. Not anymore. Now, she is a woman of great love for who she is, who she always was, and who she will continue to become. She has an immense love for every single part of who she became, especially that anxious, unhappy, fat, depressed girl who was forever wallowing in her own misery, that stayed attached as she made her way into womanhood, holding on to those feelings for dear life, afraid to let them go in case she didn't like the person she really was. But she did it. She dug. She chiseled, she excavated, she tunneled, she analysed and scrutinised. She examined and searched. She took a step in the right direction to change her point of view. She took a step forward so she could look at all of her stuff from a completely different perspective. She found the courage within herself to risk everything she knew and everything she was comfortable with to find out what lay underneath. Every thought and every feeling that led her to being so miserable and sad. After months and months of searching, she found her true identity, herself. She is a love body woman. As she contemplates this term, love body woman, she begins to decide what it means for her. You see, inside of her body and yours is a complexity of particulars, specific foundations making up a love body woman. They all share the important role of contributing to her life here on earth. Some with love, some with a different kind of love. Knowing what she knows, now she is able to determine which particulars will do a better job at creating a life that is overflowing with fun and love and happiness. She has come to learn so much about her body and what resides in there. Growing up, no one shared the honest truth with her. It isn't because they were keeping it a secret, it was because they themselves had no idea what occupied their own bodies. To believe in such extraordinary inhabitants was to be a crazy hippie or an outsider. If you believed, you kept it to yourself or spoke only with those daring to escape from society's preposterous ideals. So she never knew, which meant all of society's rules and beliefs and requirements crammed her senses. There was no other way to be except the way she was taught, handed down from one generation to the next. She is now breaking free. She now understands she does not have to be stuck in the vicious cycle of misery perpetuated by those before her. There is more to her life than that. And what of these complexity of particulars? What are they? Who are they? How do they create such a diverse woman? A woman so unique there will never again be another like her, nor has there been one already. Within this body of hers lies three entities: her inner being, also known as her loving voice, her ego, she's named Saskia, and her humanness, she. Three very different beings, all wanting different things, creating a life from their own individual perspectives. Unity wasn't necessarily high on the agenda until now. She is bringing them back together to work as one. As she unites all parts of herself, she gives love to and appreciates the physicalness of her body, her organs, her cells, her legs, her arms, her face, all of it. They are amazing. They work hard for her every day to ensure she feels good. So she can walk, she can run, she can smile, she can dance and have fun. There was no concept of what her body could do before. She held on to the notion she was fat and useless. This notion is deleted, gone, obliterated. She runs with glee, she moves with delight, she sees her body as strong and accomplished. There is nothing she doesn't love about her body. No one will ever tell her again how fat and disgusting she is. And even if they did, she would tell them politely to mind their own fucking business. Restoring all parts of her has not been easier. Saskia has fought for her right to dominate against every loving action she opened herself up to. Saskia constantly reminded her of the good old days when she believed all of her opinions about what she should do, where she should go, how she should behave, what she should say. Her ego was highly opinionated. She knew best, and nothing was going to take that away from her. But now she wasn't listening to her as so much. She has settled down. In the beginning, though, she was screaming, crying, desperate to keep a hold of her power. It was tough for her to know the difference, to know what to listen to and what to believe. It was all lies. Every word was uttered to keep her in her comfort zone, to keep her safe, to keep her from venturing too far into the unknown in case something happened to her. The trust she has awakened in herself has elevated her growth, taken it to a level she only dared to dream about. Her dreams were heavy with want and desire. She thought of them constantly. They sat in her like a ton of bricks, their presence weighing her down as thought after thought reminded her she was never going to get what she wanted. She never got what she wanted. She wasn't allowed, and she mistook her ego's words of unworthiness as fact. The voice in her head ruled everything. It ripped her dreams away from her, stole the woman she longed to be, let her down day after day, year after year. She was constantly fighting for her emotional survival. Her anger reflected this. Her very real emotions, the ones that made her feel good, were not welcome. Neither were the ones who made her feel like shit. None of her emotions had a safe place to land. They were not loved. This is why her anger took over. It pushed every other emotion out of the way, and she accepted it, gave into it, permitted it. Her anger was not wanted. She begged it to leave her alone. There were moments when she thought it had disappeared, that it may never come back. Then, in an instant, it showed up even more brutal than the last time it reared its ugly head. And after such a brutal attack, she felt so alone. She ached in despair. She pleaded over and over for it to never happen again. She promised herself she would do better next time. She would keep her anger in check. She would be kinder to others and to herself. But she didn't know how. She didn't know how to be kind. She didn't know how to be loving. They were foreign feelings to her. If they ever popped up, she would feel so uncomfortable that she had to get rid of them as quickly as possible, which is why her anger always remained. It wasn't wanted, but it felt comfortable to her. It was familiar. It loved her in its own fucked up way. It was doing its best to protect her, to stand up for her, to give her a way of articulating all those words she had never been quite able to say. She is now no longer afraid of her emotions, good or bad, delightful or shitty, pleasant or fucked up. Her fear of love and her fear of hate chained her to a lifelong burden of never being able to honestly express the person she is. So many of her relationships fell under this burden. She resisted the yearning to open herself up wholly and completely, letting each person eventually slip away. It was easier to watch her friendships dissolve rather than offer herself up to the love and connection they each presented to her. I regret she will now have to surrender in order to create stronger bonds with those in her life now. It occurred to her, not so long ago, how the importance of cleaning up her own backyard is crucial for drawing in those relationships she wished for so badly. She also realized what wonderful relationships she has in her life right now. She tends to dismiss them as not good enough, that she isn't good enough to have them. She doesn't deserve them because she is such an angry, horrible woman. The biggest conclusion of all hit her with the full force of a dozen rhinos. The relationship she had with herself was the worst one of them all. It sucked. It was brutal, savage. She was bullying herself in a frenzied and heartless way. This relationship desperately needed fixing. She did try over the years. She went to a counsellor, she wrote about it, she talked to certain people about it, mostly strangers, as they seemed the best people to relay all her insecurities and self-doubt. They only got a fraction of the story, though. They'd send her to the loony bin straight away if they knew the full story. She read self-help books, went to seminars and workshops. She absorbed as much as her brain could possibly hold on to how to become a better person. She listened to experts and opinions. She believed and she trusted in what others had to show her. She thought everyone knew better about how she could be a better human being. and that was why she could not find the woman she was looking for. Too many people pointing in a million different directions. She's over there. No, she's over there. Look, hang on, she's over there. She was only ever in one place. The one place she dared not look. Within. The moment she turned her attention within was the moment she felt the refinement, the variance, the collective of what her loving voice had been attempting to curve her awareness back to all along. Everything began to fall into place. And now the most important relationship in her life sprang up from within and began to blossom. She opened herself up to so much love and kindness. She felt things, good things, that she hadn't felt in a ridiculous amount of years. Trust returned, trust in herself, trust in her knowing, trust in her own capabilities. A sense of peace flowed through her body, wrapping her hate and self-loathing in love. This is who a love-body woman is. A vibrant, strong, powerful, loving, capable woman. She is joyful, fun, grateful, forgiving, abundant, unique, empowered, happy, creative, playful, and trusting. She trusts in herself immensely, enough to know who she is and to never let another human being tell her otherwise. No more believing the words recited from the ridiculous old rulebook that should have been thrown out years ago. No more listening to the restrained attitudes of those stuck in their own misery, needing her to keep them company. No more absorbing judgments and disapprovals of anyone not willing to recognize what a truly amazing woman she is. Because the most important opinion of all is her own. The only acceptance she requires is that which she gives to herself. Validation is not demanded from the outside world. It is already within. As a love-body woman, she listens to the woman within, learns who she truly is, and loves every single part of herself again. Her beauty is found humming out of the powerful connection she has plugged herself into. Her power emanates from the depths of eternalness, bridging her spirit with pure divinity. Her own divine self energizes such a powerful connection so the most meaningful relationship in her life can remain activated. The relationship with herself.